What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with Bungie's weekly TWID update. Of course, the weekly blog post returns. In this one, Bungie give a preview for Warlock ability tuning that we're going to see in 9.10. That is the Ash and Iron update, which is coming in September. There are quite a few changes actually planned for Warlocks there, so we'll break them all down. They also talk about power and reward changes for portal activities, as well as more specifically the Crucible. They also give a heads up regarding the end of Solstice. And we got a few other shouts for the video today, so if you guys enjoy this one, be sure to get subscribed. I can keep you posted with more Destiny content and updates, but otherwise, let's get into it. First thing that some folks may want to know about, but the Edge of Fate is currently 30% off on the PlayStation Store right now, so if you've been holding off on grabbing Edge of Fate, and maybe that discount might just tease you into getting it, then it's worth knowing about. That offer will end on August 28th. Obviously, Bungie are trying to get more folks into the expansion, although I think it's relatively normal that within a couple of months, Bungie do discount a lot of the expansions for Destiny, so not necessarily surprising, but give us your thoughts about it down below. Otherwise, a heads up for Solstice here. Bungie say, time flies when you're having fun under the tower's summer sun, but Solstice is wrapping up soon. And we wanted to give you a friendly nudge to make sure you're not missing out on any of those sweet rewards. So basically, if you want to finish the event track, grab any of the weapons, including the holofoils, and there's chances at higher tier rewards that we've been getting. There are just a few more days before the event wraps up on the 19th of August, so let us know how your Solstice grind has been, any juicy rewards you've managed to pick up. A few days left to try and grab that juicy Yeartide Apex if you haven't been lucky with the RNG yet. Otherwise, Bungie also point out players should upgrade their Lustrious armor and get the glows if they want to earn them before Tuesday. Otherwise, rank rewards and event tokens will be reset until the event returns in a year's time. So after Solstice ends, it will be impossible to use or claim these items. And no, I don't think they're referring to us no longer being able to use the Solstice loot we've earned, but more specifically the tokens. So just keep that in mind. Otherwise, here they talk about Warlock ability tuning that we'll get for Ash and Iron. So they say Warlocks and their space magic abilities. We're seeing some great Warlock usage, but in the near future, we're planning to enable deeper build crafting with these constructs, such as Child of the Old Gods, Bleak Watcher, Helion, Arc Soul, and Ionic Sentry. Additionally though, a few builds are starting to stand out. But while we're happy that players are building into the above abilities, we're also seeing feedback and working on a handful that aren't felt to be as potent. So currently they identify that Warlocks are somewhat limited in build crafting variety, and they want to address that. Also that a few strand abilities don't shine as brightly as they'd like, and a handful of exotics need bug fixes. So while some of the above will take time to address, they are planning a tuning pass for Ash and Iron, which will drop on the 9th of September, and we're still testing the changes and finalizing how everything should work, so some things may shift, but this is the first steps in helping Warlocks feel a bit more love for their space magic. They add as well, for Hunters and Titans, they'll be back in the next few weeks to discuss more changes which are coming up. For the moment though, previewing the Warlock stuff for abilities, Empowering Rift, the class ability, they say standing in Empowering Rift now generates grenade, melee, and class ability energy over time, plus final blows while standing in an Empowering Rift now generate bonus special and heavy ammo progress. Which, to be fair, sounds pretty good. Otherwise, for Weave Walk, exiting it will now grant Woven Mail for you and nearby allies, and the Woven Mail duration is relative to the time spent in Weave Walk. Otherwise, they're increasing the horizontal movement on enter and exit, and increasing fragment slots from 2 to 3. On Weaver's Call, it now generates Roosted Threadling progress when giving damage of any type, and Threadling damage now returns class ability energy, which works on all Threadling damage while this aspect is equipped. Then there is Frost Pulse, and freezing enemies now generates class ability energy, which works on all stasis freezes when the aspect is equipped. But finally, for Pocket Singularity, it now has 2 charges at base, and projectile lifetime is increased from 1.1 to 2 seconds. Otherwise, they're reworking projectile tracking to favor targets closest to the initial trajectory, and they reduce the detonation knockback on players by 50%. So those sound like positive changes overall. Give me your thoughts down below. I certainly think they are needed, so there's those, and then they get on to exotic armor. The Uonia, I don't even know how you say it, the new Warlock exotic, but they're increasing the projectile damage at max range from 15 to 20%. They've also tuned the distance to damage curve to make the maximum damage distance easier to identify, as well as increasing projectile tracking by 40%, which is quite significant. And in addition to the primary projectile, the sub-projectiles now benefit from Ember of Ashes and Ember of Eruption. So I think the potential of that one seriously will improve. Otherwise, in general, for abilities and threadlings, they say they'll do increased damage versus combatants by 20%. I would assume that counts for all classes, but otherwise they outline upcoming fixes for exotics. So These represent the remaining upcoming changes. For Starfire Protocol, they say, we confirmed an issue where Starfire was not returning as much energy as expected on empowered hits, and we fixed the issue, raising it to the intended 5%, with that fix deploying in 9007. So that's the very next update we'll get for Destiny 2. Not sure if it will be next week or perhaps the week after. Same goes for Crown of Tempests, and they're continuing to investigate an issue where it no longer grants stacks on multi-kills, and they're aiming to have a fix when Renegades goes live, so that one will take a little bit longer. For Rhymecoat Rainment though, they're looking into an issue where generated stasis crystals inconsistently apply Devour when Feed the Void is active, and we believe we're owning in on the fix and are looking to have a fix for when Renegades goes live as well. Otherwise, for Boots of the Assembler, we've confirmed an issue where Noble Rounds won't work on teammates that enter a Warlock Rift, and a fix will be deployed during the 910 major update. That's the one we get on 9th of September. Otherwise, for Wings of Sacred Dawn, they say we've concluded that we missed a patch note with Edge of Fate's release, and it is intended that Wings no longer reloads your equipped weapon, and this led to some problematic behaviors around single-shot magazine weapons such as bows. So it doesn't sound like they plan to fix that at the moment. That is basically how it's intended to work in its new format. Otherwise, for Controverse Hold, they've had reports it doesn't return energy as expected, and after investigation, we believe this to be true, specifically with some combatants in firing range only. We're looking to update the firing range combatants in a future update. Basically, they're saying this only actually affects the firing range enemies, but otherwise it should be fine. Let me know if you've had any experiences of that, but for Nezarec Sin, we saw reports of a regeneration buff no longer working during multi-kill streaks and believe this may have been resolved in 9005 alongside the fix to the sprint bug, but we'll be keeping an eye on it for any future reports. It's so strange to say we believe this may have been resolved in a previous patch. Surely Bungie would know, but nonetheless, on the most part, we should appreciate those are positive sounding changes, largely anyway. And in the coming weeks, they say we're also planning to communicate more about future of class fantasies. So they're excited to show us what else is cooking, and we should stay tuned for more info. So give me your thoughts on those changes outlined there, down below, as well as any of the missed patch note components that they discuss. Otherwise, they move on and talk about Crucible power and rewards. So they highlight firstly, earlier this week, in the patch, everyone in a match now has a chance to earn an additional role, opposed to one player per team. On top of that, the competitive playlist weapon Solemn Remembrance has a chance to drop on completions instead of just wins. Otherwise, they lowered the B grade score threshold for reward ranks Copper and Bronze, which makes it easier to earn bonus drops and bonus focus rewards. Plus, they increased the gear tier for B+ at reward ranks Bronze and Silver. But there'll be more changes coming up in Ash and Iron, where they're making Crucible Ops more rewarding for all players, along with targeted adjustments for early power bands. So they're increasing the bonus drop frequency when playing Crucible Ops, also increasing the amount of score earned on losses, as well as retuning score thresholds for all grades at reward ranks Copper and Bronze, and this will make earning higher power and gear tier more consistent. Otherwise, they're increasing the highest potential gear tier at reward ranks Copper, Bronze and Silver, so that's up to power level 400, as well as increasing power adjusters for PvP up to power level 300. But they add we're not stopping with Crucible, and we have more PvE reward changes coming in the future, including for the Desert Perpetual, but they'll share more on that in the weeks to come. I would imagine with those we'll also hear more about sort of power adjustments that they've indicated they're working on for upcoming updates. With regards to the next patch though, 9007, they confirm a couple of other small fixes that they'll have. So a small volume of players are unable to integrate Strangelet capsules and progress the Edge of Fate campaign. That should be fixed in the next update. Otherwise, the Culmination Challenge for Reclamation currently requires more completed challenges than will be available before Reclamation ends on September 9th. We're revising the target count downward to ensure that it can be completed before Ash and Iron ships, and a new round of challenges begins. So this issue is currently blocking players from being able to complete the Culmination Challenge for Reclamation, again targeting a fix for 9007. Otherwise, they highlight that class armor stat is scaling in increments instead of per point. I think that's the first recognition that the class stat is actually bugged directly from Bungie, as far as I'm aware, so good to know that they're aware of that and that is indeed the case. So as we discussed previously, if you have 105 class stat, it will be no different to 100 because it's only changing in increments of 10, essentially. Otherwise, they say the slow and small challenge modifier is causing persistent audio to be present in activities. Also, Kepler weekly missions are incorrectly displaying that they will always reward Kepler gear. I actually thought that wasn't incorrect. I thought that was how it works, and it normally is when I play through that stuff. Give me your thoughts. Otherwise, the Photo Galvanic set bonus from the Lustrous sets will loop its activation audio consistently while active. To be honest, I thought that was intentional, but there we go. Only other thing in the TWID really, they say there are of course the Bungie rewards associated with Solstice, with additional Solstice savings in the store until August 19th. So if you are a Bungie store fan, you can check out details about those awards available in the TWID. But otherwise, for the moment, that's what we have to round up. Quite a few changes coming in 9007, which like we said, will probably be sometime in the next couple of weeks. I don't think Bungie confirmed a specific date yet, but that will be before Ash and Iron because that's 910 on September 9th, and there'll be, of course, more changes then as well. So share any thoughts you have on them down in the comments section, guys. If you've enjoyed the video today or found it useful, a rating really does help me out on the channel. But otherwise, cheers for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.